Welcome back everyone, the World Cup is well and truly underway. Two groups, Group A and B, have already played all of their day one fixtures, including a very big surprise result as Qatar grab a 95th minute equalizer against a very, very unconvincing Switzerland, who were the favourites to top their group. Will this change things up now? I don't think yet alarm bells should be ringing in Switzerland, but they definitely need to look at this performance and look forward to Canada and Bosnia to put in a better performance. Otherwise, their first place is at risk and also their general tournament life. They will expect better. I'll quickly talk you through South Korea versus Czech Republic, the defeat of Arteta ball, almost, as some people have called it, very defensive play from Czechia. And then I will get onto the Switzerland-Qatar game. And yeah, most of the story of Korea versus Czech Republic was simply Korea peppering the Czech goal. Very early effort here from Son goes just wide, and Czech Republic sat back very, very deep. They were under pressure by Korea, who put in a very surprising performance. I'll talk a bit at the end after some of the expectations that they've overcome, but generally very positive from Korea. Very good technical offensive play, and Czech Republic were not handling it very well. A couple of moments later, again, denied by the goalkeeper, bounces to a Korean attacker, very nearly the opener, and Korea kept struggling. Son gets a one-on-one against Matej Kovar. Kovar comes out very quickly. A good game from him, all things considered, despite conceding the 2 goals. Korea were creating lots of chances and Kovar kept them relatively quiet. And then in true underdog fashion, a set-piece goal, a long throw here from the Czech Republic. And the Czech captain makes a good run into the box, slams the header home, and that is one thing that Korea were struggling against the Czechs with, that physical play. Czech Republic were very dominant in the air, as you could see from this set piece. But obviously then comes the highlight, one of the highlights of the tournament so far, this phenomenal goal from Korea. A ball in behind, the Korean attacker has the ball, and then this beautiful feint sends the entire Czech defense packing, and then just neatly finishes it. A bit of a slow chipped finish, but it does the job. Went into the back of the net. And again, fantastic. And Czech Republic still showed life at 1-1. They scored an offside goal here off the head of Tomáš Souček. He pulled out the helicopter celebration for nothing in the end, as he was just barely offside. But again, this sign that potentially Korea is a bit weak on set pieces. And again, something that Mexico will have to be careful with, South Africa will have to be careful with. Do not succumb to these set pieces. The Czechs are big, they are physical, and they are very good at these deliveries, both from throw-ins and free kicks and corners. But eventually, poetic justice, Korea does come out ahead. A good cutback, 80th minute. Ball slips by Matej Kovar. 2-1. Korea take it home. A good result for them, I will say. Many people predicted a potential upset here because Korea were not coming into this tournament in the greatest of forms. Their friendlies in 2026 were rather underwhelming. A 4-0 loss against Côte d'Ivoire, which was a big disappointment. 1-0 loss against Austria, who are probably a stronger team than Czech Republic, but nonetheless did not spell phenomenal form for Korea. And yet Korea right now are looking good. Very good performance against a Czech team which was defending well, which put up threats from set pieces. And now eyes on Mexico to see how they will deal with this South Korean threat. And speaking of teams who did not deal with threat very well, or rather should I say, did not create enough threat of their own, Qatar versus Switzerland. Switzerland, a team who has looked so strong at previous tournaments. Never really an offensive powerhouse, an offensive behemoth, but always very solid, which is why it was surprising to see them struggle against this Qatar team, give up some easy chances. And especially watching this game, the way Qatar set up, especially in the marking of Granit Xhaka, I thought it could go very, very wrong for Qatar. And yet Switzerland, despite being granted this control, just did not take advantage. Throughout the game, many, many times, Granit Xhaka picks up the ball, as you can see here, and no player from in front comes out to press him. It is often an attacker tracking back to press Granit Xhaka, which allows him to progress really high up the pitch. He was allowed to do this all the time, this deep playmaking. Granit Xhaka, who we've seen look phenomenal for Sunderland this season, look phenomenal for Bayer Leverkusen. You need to recognize this threat, and Qatar didn't, and they allowed him to do so much playmaking from these deep areas, and yet Switzerland did nothing. They even had some slip-ups of their own, looked uncharacteristically sloppy defensively. Here, very early on, a minute 30 in, ball comes in. First of all, a very poor headed clearance. And then the ball slips through. Akanji misses, just fully tries to clear it, misses the ball. It eventually comes through all the way to the attacker one-on-one against Gregor Kobel, who has never looked that good for Switzerland either. He's been very good for Dortmund, a bit shakier as of the last couple of seasons, but still a very good keeper at club level. Not always the best for Switzerland. He's struggled to replace Jan Sommer, but here a very good save from him, manages to nick the ball under him as the Qatari striker Junior tried to go in between his legs. But mostly it was simply a story of Switzerland not creating enough. Here, a very, very good chance, cut back into the middle of the box. As you can see here around the penalty spot, the ball flies over the bar. And this was mostly what they did all the time. And where they eventually got their goal from was a penalty from a very, very close offside decision. Many people were speculating whether this was offside or not. As you can see here, the ball comes in again around the penalty spot, gets headed on, and it does look like that Qatari ankle is just keeping the Swiss attacker on, who eventually gets wiped out by the goalkeeper, and the penalty gets beautifully converted. It was one of those stutter step penalties, which we see criticized when they don't work, but when they do work, very effective. Side netting, good power, sends the keeper the wrong way, and generally very positive. And Switzerland kept making chances and kept failing to convert them. Here, another ball in behind to Ndoye, who just simply smashes it right at the Qatari keeper, to who his credit didn't necessarily make any worldly saves, but still made a lot of very good saves. It could have been worse had the Qatari keeper not turned up. And what I think Switzerland missed a bit of is a bit more directness, a bit more incisiveness. And I thought the player that could bring it to them was Johan Manzambi. He has had a phenomenal season with Freiburg, got all the way to the Europa League final, was the youth player of the Europa League. Generally phenomenal breakout season. He can do it all. He is, excuse the pun, a real Swiss knife. Great offensively, great defensively. Fantastic shooter of the ball, great carrier. As we saw, when he did come on, he tried to create things. He did come on quite late at around the 70th minute, but we can see he was a bit hungrier, I think, than some of the other Swiss players. He picks up the ball here from deep and just runs the entire length, slips in Mbolo in behind, who eventually did not manage to convert, and Switzerland got punished for how poor they were. Ball swung in, very good cross, but again, the Swiss are a bigger team, a more physical team, a more experienced team, and they got dominated in the air, or at least were not as dominant as they'd like to be in the air. And here, Qatar managed to equalize 95th minute or 94th here, as it says at the top. Very good header, very good cross. Switzerland gutted to not be 2-0 up, 3-0 up, 4-0 up at that point. They were creating so many chances. Qatar were allowing so much, and yet just completely failed to get any sort of offensive pressure. And what this leaves Switzerland in is not the greatest position. Group B tied 1 point apiece. Bosnia and Herzegovina and Canada obviously drew. But obviously Qatar are considered the weakest team in the group. Despite this draw against Switzerland, who are the favorites, this wasn't necessarily Qatar stepping up. This was mostly Switzerland playing very poorly. And so Bosnia and Canada will be looking at this fixture against Qatar and thinking if they can win against Qatar, that's 2 points advantage against Switzerland. And then Switzerland, in turn, now need to turn up and beat Canada, beat Bosnia. If they do so, still favorites for first place, but it will be a lot more uphill of a battle now. In any case, 2 of the groups are wrapped up. Another group that kicks off in just a couple of minutes as I'm finishing filming this. The big one, Morocco against Brazil. One of the big favorites, one of the big fixtures finally. I enjoyed summarizing these games for you. Couple of surprising results. I think Korea, much better than many people expected. Switzerland, much worse than many people expected. It leaves some groups very open, already more open than when we were predicting before it. In any case, I am going to go watch Morocco-Brazil. I am so excited for that one. In any case, let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what you think of Switzerland and Korea. How far do you think both teams can go now that they've shown us a bit more of their form? Do you think Qatar have any chance of making it out of the group? Anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.